administration for lately. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Hey, let me start off on a serious note. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath, midway through the week. We're looking at a pretty okay Wednesday. Yeah, we've had a nice couple of days after the monsoon, if you will, through Saturday, but we're looking at an okay midpoint in the week on a Wednesday. Tomorrow, maybe not as bright, but not bad. So anyway, we'll get you going. We're going to get a live report in a moment. What are the Democrats doing with President Trump in the Middle East? And now he's already meeting with the leaders of Qatar in terms of more trade deals, and then off to Dubai. And it's been and I don't mean to say anything. I can't remember a time. Maybe our next guest or expert. I can't remember a time when a sitting U.S. president, with all this glitz and glamour, whether Qatar's offering him a new aircraft or not. I don't remember a time when the president's gone and sat with the wealthiest nations in the Middle East talking about doing more business with the United States of America. Meanwhile, he's doing power brokering in Syria. He may even pop into Turkey. This is unbelievable. He may pop into Turkey to sit with Zelensky and Putin. This is unbelievable. So what are the Democrats doing? Well, they're meeting in places like Iowa, New Hampshire. The Illinois governor was up here recently. What about Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete? Paul Steinhauser, it's been a while, the great one. Paul Steinhauser reports nationally for Fox News and Fox News Digital and for us. And Paul, checking out Iowa. And I meant to mention, good morning. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the Pulse of an H. Good morning, Paul. And I guess it needs to be because putting former President Joe Biden out on a media tour when he's having a hard time talking with the host of The View is kind of I don't know what that does other than I guess Biden has a PR deal. But, Bernie Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez have been active on the far, far left, but it's probably the Pete Buttigieg of the world. I don't know about the Illinois governor. The Democrats, they can say what they don't like about Donald Trump all day long, but who's their bench? What's their message? What are the issues? And I would think the economy is still everything. And if these trade deals can calm down consumer jitters and independent business owners paralysis, I don't know. Who are the rising stars? Who are the stars going to be in the Democrat Party nationally? That's the question, right? All right, Paul, I hope you're still sleeping some nights in New Hampshire. All right, thank you, Paul. Paul Steinhauser, report nationally for Fox. He does a lot of stories out of New Hampshire. Maybe in the next day or two, he'll do some stories on who's running for what major office here. We'll keep you posted on that. Hey, Google, hey, Lex, as I said earlier, play the Pulse of an H. And I guess we're going to stay international in our poll question up on X this morning at the Pulse of an H. We simply ask you, and J-Dog will tell you how we did yesterday. Do you Do you approve of President Trump's historic trip through the Middle East? Yes or no? Just that's a simple question. Actually, you know what, J-Dog? Do you mind if I call an audible there? I'm calling a an audible, J-Dog. Omaha, a Drake May audible. Do you approve or not of the Trump administration of the president, even if it's on behalf of his library down the road or temporary use of Air Force One? Do you approve of the luxury jet being offered President Trump from Qatar, who he's meeting with today? Do you think do you think they should accept that jet or not? It's a simple question. I actually, be honest with you, can kind of see both sides of this coin, but that's our question. Do you approve of the jet offer acceptance? Yes or no? The big jet from Qatar. Thank you, J Dog. And our results from yesterday. Yeah. And I understand that. I think it's we had a good Dan Leonard on yesterday, a buddy of mine who's in that healthcare stuff in DC. It's going to take a while, and it's sort of an indirect benefit. It takes a while, but it starts the debate. It puts the lights on. It puts a big floodlight on the problem. These middlemen that are setting prices for all of us. It's a huge racket. Healthcare is a racket. Let me repeat that. Healthcare is a racket. I mean, I don't know the difference between organized crime sometimes and this stuff that we allow in our system, but it's a racket. Prices are set by kind of like a middle market in the middle that own the pharmacies. They own the CVSs of the world. They own the insurance companies are driving the whole thing. And we'll just see where it goes. But, it's interesting Paul said that with Pete Buttigieg, who has been on my show a lot in the past. Maybe I'll get him on in the next week or two. And he did well. People forget the last New Hampshire presidential primary before Democrats screwed over New Hampshire and took away the primary. He did pretty well. If you remember when Joe Biden came in fifth, there should have been warning signs then. But it was Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, or Pete Buttigieg right up there, Amy Klobuchar. But I notice I almost had to, okay, I shouldn't notice all the stuff I notice, but I can't help it. Just the way I am. And I noticed the people, and I don't know, and people have used different descriptions to call this something, but the people that absolutely seem purely obsessed with despising Donald Trump on every single facet of life. I mean, there are those people among us. There are people I know, friends and family. I mean, there are people that absolutely dislike, disapprove, don't approve this, they have disdain everything about Donald Trump. His family, they can't even say a nice thing about Melania Trump. They can't say a nice thing about the kids. You hear everything. Trump's doing this to make money. He's screwing us over to crash the economy. I mean, I've heard it all. And I'm looking at this going, okay, you can sit there for the next, the midterms are coming up. We got a year to go still. So the balance of the term, you can sit there for the next few years and rail every single day, every cookout, every jump in the lake, every shower you take, every time you talk with someone, you can tell how much you can't stand Donald Trump in this administration. Now that Elon Musk, even though he traveled with President Trump to Saudi Arabia, even Musk, you don't have him to kick around as much anymore because he's moving out of the visible role in the White House per se to get back to his business stuff, which I knew he would. But you can hate all day, but here's my question of you. What are your solutions other than not liking Donald Trump? What is your answer? It's kind of amazing that people want to still debate in judges and court cases on illegal immigration, and migrants who have been deported or all that. And you may not like some of it, but my point is the border is secure. It was secured before the first 100 days were done. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, this is a fact. It's not even a talking point. It's a fact. Somewhere between 10 and 20 million illegal immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them, came into this country. 10 to 20 million. Think of the size. New Hampshire's 1.3 million. Maine, multiply that times 15. Yep, the last 4 years. Unchecked. Come on in. Borders are open. We're open for business. Come on in. We want you here. So people didn't like the unsecure southern border. Administration closed it. I don't know if you've heard, but we haven't heard much from Texas Governor Abbott lately because we haven't had to. The border is literally like 98% closed, the southern border. In fact, people miss this in the news recently. Some of the people coming in had to go up to the northern border more because the southern border is locked up. It's closed. Southern border is closed for illegal migration business. Some of the towns down there in Texas along the border with Mexico became kind of busy the last few years because there was so much business in and around, believe it or not, trying to border security, border patrol, keeping up with illegals coming in. It's closed. Okay. So that's that. I don't know how big of an issue it will be in the midterms. The economy will be big. Trump's over in the Middle East, securing new lanes of business from the wealthiest countries in the Middle East. The war in Ukraine may even, hopefully, God willing, comes to an end soon between, um, Russia and Ukraine. That would be nice to have that war end. Middle East, we'll see where it goes. But my point is, you can sit there all day long and blame Trump for your back pain, your arthritis. You heard me say this on the show. Shingles, herniated disc, migraines. Blame him for everything. But what is your solution other than blaming and not liking Trump? What is your answer? What are you going to tell? Well, number one, why don't you put your name on a political ballot and run for office, even at a local level, if you have ideas and you want a different path? I mean, that's what Pete Buttigieg was saying in Iowa. He's right. You can't just say you hate Trump. Let me ask you a simple question. All the back channel stories on Kamala Harris's campaign. Oh my goodness, this is absolutely beyond Saturday Night Live stuff, but they're so biased they won't do it. They should be doing skits on this. Blaming Biden for staying in too long. Obama, Nancy Pelosi, they're all blaming each other. Everyone's blaming. And all Kamala Harris did in her campaign, she couldn't even say what she was going to do if elected. She couldn't say how she was different than Biden. All she did was rail against Donald Trump. Here's a simple question for you. Exactly how did that work for her? How did that work for Harris? And people say, well, she didn't have enough time. No, she was a terrible candidate. Let's just be totally candid. They threw $1 billion her way. No shortage of money. She was anointed. I mean, CNN, when that coup happened, when they kicked Biden out, and that Monday she was all ready to go because that thing was already pre-wired. She was ready to go. CNN's headline was Vice President Harris to be enshrined as the Democrat nominee. I'm watching, I go, enshrined? Enshrined? So she hated Trump. She said he was offensive, unelectable. How did that work for her? Polls said that it was dead even. We wouldn't know for weeks or months. How did that work for her in the battleground states? See, at some point, Pete Buttigieg is onto something. You got to say what you represent, what you want to do. Without a world without Donald Trump, at some point, what do you want to do? How are you going to deal with things in the economy? How are you going to deal with immigration? What's your immigration policy? What are you going to do about, challenges to our lives as Americans? What are your thoughts on defense? Instead of it all being, I don't like Donald Trump, and that is what some Democrats are. They're stuck on that cliff still, and maybe Buttigieg is a sign. I'm not saying anything good, or I'm not commenting. I'm just saying he's right. He's right. You need to say what, if you are so frustrated, maybe catharsis would be put your name on a local ballot and run for office. Tell people what your ideas was, or instead of sitting there on social media being such an expert and just railing every day against stuff. Just some thoughts, commentary, 603-228-2080. Arguably, number one problem in New Hampshire is affordable housing. We're going to check in with our friend Bob Jackman, Laval and Middleton Building Spy, a little bit earlier this morning to have some time to talk about that and what they're offering as part of the solution. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a moment. All right, like to bring in our friends from La Valley Middleton Building Supply. They have locations and team members across our region. Literally, they are an incredible, really, still family run private company, growing, looking for great team members, and they have an incredible operation on in Claremont. I went to visit. That was back during the holidays, I think, and they're making a lot of these incredibly flexible, desirable, beautiful primary homes, secondary homes, small. I don't call them tiny homes, but under 1,000 square feet, affordable, and they build them there, controlled. You can pick out your kitchen stuff, your bathroom stuff, your granite countertops, your roof, everything. And the nice thing is, they come in in a day or two, you're living in your home. They bring it in, it's all done. It's beautiful. But their facility is amazing, and it's part of the affordable housing solution, I would argue, because it's gonna be this kinda housing that people can put on existing land, and we need stakeholders and policyholders to wake up and realize we have an affordable housing crisis. It's number one problem facing our state. Bob Jackman, good morning. Yeah. I mean, Bob, I, I've seen a lot over the years in real estate. I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs, I've seen the middle. I've seen the high interest rates, I've seen the incredibly low. And I gotta tell you, I've never seen the lack of affordable housing in New Hampshire and Maine, anything in some of these towns. How many times we had a guest in the studios yesterday. She and her husband was our friends from NAMI the other day. They have an event tomorrow night, great event at B&H Stage. This is my brave. But anyway, she said they own a home in Barrington. They've appreciated a lot of money and could sell that home real quickly here. But where do they move to? Because you can't move somewhere else laterally and afford it without it costing you more money. I hear that all the time. Oh, oh, I know. I know. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Nope. And it's so incorrect to have that perception. I saw it, Bob. We talked about it so much. I went out to your facility in Claremont. Let's talk about that. But I saw it. I saw what they were building there, building everything from small to big. In fact, there's one custom home down on the Cape they had built there. And I think it was like a 4 or 5 bedroom, 2 or 3 bath, almost 5,000 square foot home built totally controlled inside and then brought down like cars, almost like railroad cars, and put together. Probably the home builders you talk to would admit you're not dealing with Mother Nature. You're not dealing with pouring rain, where if you're not framed and covered, it gets into the wood. You can have mold, wood rot. You're not dealing with cold. You're not dealing with heat. In the summer, you're not dealing with 98-degree and humidity. You're controlled. And the level of the thickness of your walls, the energy efficiency, the quality of what you're doing on in Claremont. So tell us about what's happening in Claremont, because if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. Right. Mhm. 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 Yep. Mhm. Yep. Mhm. Right. Very common. Yep. Right. Yep. Right. And you can afford it because if you own land already, this is an incredibly affordable way to get structure, livable space that you can add to. And when I say afford, I mean, you don't like to put prices to it because it depends on all the customization, but you can get something under 1,000 square feet that you can live in fine. And if you own the land, you can be well into that home for, I'm just saying, under 150 grand, and where else can you do that? So thank you, Bob Jackman. If people want to learn more on the preferred, the buildable stuff that you're doing, the customized stuff in Claremont, best way is how? Mm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Right. Yeah, because they save time. They save time. So if you're a builder too, or someone looking at, go visit in Claremont. Go get a free tour. Go tell them Jack sent you. Go get a free tour. Thank you, Bob. All right, John Decker talking about the Middle East and Joe Biden's health. So what's new? It's just not much better. Back in a moment. All right, our own White House correspondent John Decker joining us, talking about, and really, it's hard to say President Trump's Middle East trip without saying the word historic because it truly is. And we'll also get a quick comment on why is Joe Biden going around and doing all these public events. John Decker, good morning. So, John, I not to bore you, but in one of my college moves to graduate or get out of University of Vermont in the senior thesis in political science, you had to pick a part of the world to do what they call your thesis, your big half a year paper. I chose the Middle East because I was fascinated in some of the dynamics with these independent leaders, like in Libya, different parts of the Middle East, and you look at our global war on terror since 9/11. John, you've covered this stuff. You're White House correspondent. You're front and center in probably the fastest moving presidential administration we've ever seen. I'm trying to remember, John, historically, a trip with this much fanfare, meeting with the top people. I mean, Saudi Arabian, the kingdom providing a fighter jet escort, no gamesmanship, fully embracing the American president, talking about business. I know Qatar offering President Trump or the administration or eventually his library this jet is controversial, but they're rolling out the carpet. And then of course you have Dubai. If we ever if I don't remember a presidential trip to the Middle East that was this pronounced, this squarely sort of pro-American business tour with the top heads of some of the wealthiest nations in the Middle East. Have we ever seen this? Yeah, right, right. But well, again, I don't want to hold you, John Decker, but I love the history of this, and the optics are very important. A lot of people made a lot of the Pope Leo the 14th being named, what he wore, the name he chose. So I'm looking at optics, and I remember past deals where one president of the administration may get a commitment from Egypt to order so many new fighter jets. Okay, I get that, but I remember past presidents. There was even an awkward moment on how to address formally the king or the head of the kingdom in Saudi Arabia. There was this awkward greeting. I saw like the leader of Saudi Arabia going to the limo and him and the president coming out and just walking and talking like on equal footing, like not one trying to show up the other. They really embraced Trump coming there, right? And finally, John, I understand PR as well as anyone. I get it. You try and stay relevant. What is going on with former President Joe Biden and Jill Biden? I mean, I saw that segment on The View. Oh my goodness. Why? John Decker, thank you for the extended time. Our own White House correspondent. Thank you, John. The next hour we'll hear from Michael Graham, but Ann Custer. You remember Ann Custer, of course, most recently until Maggie Goodlander ran and won the second congressional district here. Annie Custer from the Concord area, 6 terms in the second congressional district. She kind of had that seat down, if you will. And apparently, um, she's come out in terms of a book on her own and is talking about Joe Biden's health. And it's just amazing. You know what's amazing? This is what I just to say this quickly. I'll be succinct because we have a great guest coming up, an update on the Manchester VA or from the Manchester VA, and there could be some good, some good news stuff happening there. We were told, okay, this is the stuff. Maybe Brad Card, co-host of Contact Politics, will say, Jack, as you're aging on Earth, you're getting a little more conspiracy theory oriented. Let me ask you a question. I'm not going to bring up JFK's assassination. Not one shooter, not one bullet. Okay, that's another story. We were told for 20 years by the big pharma industry that these opioids were being prescribed to us, me, you, your spouse, your kids were not addictive. We were told for 20 years that Oxy was not addictive. We were told during COVID, get the vaccine, you won't get the virus and you won't transmit it. We were told that over and over again, okay? And when you go forward during the Joe Biden administration, if anyone questioned if Joe Biden was too old or too confused, you were the problem, not Joe Biden. There was something wrong with you, we were told the first couple of years. Biden is fine. You're the problem. If you brought up that there was a problem with the border, southern border with Mexico, it was a Republican manufactured issue. Nothing wrong with Joe Biden. He's fine. Stop asking until the debate in Atlanta. And then the coup started. George Clooney's letter, the Obamas, Nancy Pelosi, mutiny on the bounty, mutiny on the Biden bounty. That should be the name of the book. Mutiny on the Biden bounty. The captain was kicked off the ship, thrown in the drink. And all the people along the way before Biden was kicked off the ship. Oh, he's fine. I just met with him the other day. He's running circles around me. You know why they lied? Because they liked the racket. I don't even know who was running the White House because obviously it wasn't Joe Biden, but they liked something there. And maybe it was just all the crap going on. And Biden was just kind of a big figurehead, but who knows? We know what we saw. We were told we were crazy until we saw what we knew to be true in Atlanta. Commentary. Come back with an update from the VA next. A lot happening. Big week last week with our 12 hours for Veterans Count, our radiothon. Thank you all again. The Manchester VA, as I said on my show last Wednesday during the 12 hours, if you're a veteran out there and you haven't checked out the Manchester VA lately, I got to tell you, you should because they have more services, more surgical stuff going on. We had the medical director on recently and more programs, including the Women's Health Center coming online. And if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. And that's the thing, Julie Vos, the acting executive director for the Manchester VA, joining us with our Manchester VA update. Whether it's the VA or some of the nonprofits out there, I'm still amazed at the veterans that just don't know what's there. And it's either because they're too reticent or reluctant to get the support they earned, or they just don't know it's there and they assume it's not there, and that's something they should not assume. So you have a lot of updates. I'm going to let you run with that. Good morning. How are you? A lot going on. I want to just because one of the things that I don't think is being covered enough or enough awareness on is the number of women who are coming out of military service, the number of, women out there who are now back home as civilians. They served in the military, and obviously the health concerns, the health services. There's a different set there in terms of what they're looking for checkups, procedures, for health. Now, there's commonalities, of course. I mean, heart disease, surgical stuff, cancer, but you have an exciting where are we at with the Women's Health Center coming online physically at the Manchester VA for all the female women out there who serve? Mhm. Er And Julie, are you seeing a rise in more women coming into the system, veterans? Right, right. And I'm just curious, and of course, Kevin Forrest, your colleague, and I know he's in the Mission, I think just south of us in the, I'm not sure, but Kevin, say hi to him, please, and you and your great team. But Julie, as the acting executive director of the director of Manchester VA, therefore the VA here, on my show last Wednesday, our 12 hours to raise awareness for veteran support, and this is obviously through Easter Seals, but I know in the past you've had a pretty good relationship with Veterans Count. But the number of New Hampshire is about maybe just over 1.3 million. We are per capita pretty robust high state for veteran population. Are we not? The percentage last time I checked, I think it was like 10% veterans here. Do you know offhand? Okay. But are you seeing in the last couple of years, because we had your medical director on and I love he's great, talking about more surgeries now? And a lot of veterans, like if you go back 3 to 5 years, some of the surgical procedures, you've added services, and a lot of veterans don't know this as they age. So I'm just trying to raise awareness for veterans to stop in there, go visit, make an appointment. If the website seems like a lot, pop in there, go in, talk to people, sit down, see what you're eligible for. I mean, even the PACT Act. We had some veterans on a year ago. They weren't even aware of the services that they're eligible for. So I'm trying to raise awareness on a lot of the new services you have. Mhm. Mhm. And we haven't talked about how's Tilton? 20-second update on Tilton? Yeah, I just haven't we haven't got an update. And then and you know what? We'll come back. Let's do a separate because we've had some good outreach from folks in Tilton, some veterans who've benefited from going up there. Yeah. And then the final one, how many veterans now are we reaching now with the VA? You mentioned the rise in women signing up, but I mean, how many enrolled roughly? Right. And that's over the course of a year that means that many will touch the system. Well, again, we have a lot of veterans living here, moving here, and sometimes people don't realize per capita, I think, I'll quote me, not you on this. I think we're one of the higher per capita veteran population states, believe it or not. Without a major base, we have Pease, we have the shipyard, but we don't have like North Carolina, Fort Bragg, or Texas. All right, thank you, Julie. Good stuff. Good update. All right, Manchester VA, check it out. Manchester VA. A lot more services there. Check it out. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the pulse of an H. J Dog on the boards. It is Wednesday. We made it this far. Back in a moment.